Recording in progress.
Okay. I'm all from a base. Yesterday's Gemara was about shlichus. The seven Mishnah that you can make a shliach to marry the man can make the husband, the husband, can make a shliach. The woman can make a shliach to accept. And the Gemara wanted to know how do you know all this? And the Gemara brought drushes, and it brought not only for our subject, it went from Gittin to Kiddushin and Truma and Kiddushin. And it brought a pasuk for here it says v'shilach v'shulcha. The Gemara made drusha by get, and the Kiddushin only know because the Makashavai Liyitzir. And Truma, there was a pasuk the Gemara thought Gamatem, but then the Gemara said no, he wants to have pasuk for Kachim, which is the pasuk the Gemara brought. This is going to be today's sugya. I brought a pasuk of what was that? B'shachatu also. This is what the Gemara is going to talk about today. The B'shachatu Korcha said B'shachatu also called Kal Dasro Ben Arboin. The whole Am Yisrael shechs. The whole Am Yisrael doesn't shech. One person shechs, but it's called the day shech. That's called Shluch Shlod Gemosa. The Gemara by Russia that Kachim is also a shliach. So you have Gittin, Kiddushin, Truma, and Kachim. And the more Stakash, you don't need a pasuk for Truma, because once you have Kachim on the top and you have Gittin, Kiddushin on the other end, so then Truma also. And the more said you're right, you don't need a pasuk for Truma. The pasuk was to tell you that they have to be Dafka b'nei bris. You can't make a shliach with someone who's not Jewish or not. And that was yesterday's subject. We're up to the bottom, 4 lines to the bottom. And the Gemara now is going back to the Rosh by Kachim. How do you know that Kachim they can make a shliach? Because of the pasuk for Shachatu was so called Kaladas Yisrael Ben Arbain. Halichal b'Shuban Korcha. B'Shuban Korcha is the one who said that there's a drasha for Kachim. Allah B'Yonis and the Rafik Leilai called the drasha Achrina. No one. We're going to see right away. B'Yonis has a different drasha for this pasuk. So the Gemara is going to ask, how do you know about shliach by Kachim? The Tanya B'Yonis and Omer the 9 Shekol Yisrael Kulim Yotzim v'Pesach Echad. How do you know that the whole Am Yisrael could have one korban Pesach? Now the ones that are similar to Russia by the Sukkah also. It's possible theoretically everybody should sit in one sukkah. The Gemara makes a drush out of that. What that teaches you here, it says also by Pesach, it's possible for whole Am Yisrael to have just one korban Pesach. Now, what's the chiddush over there? If ever you have one korban and the whole Am Yisrael, no one's going to get a kazayis. You don't have enough kazayis, and Baruch Shem Am Yisrael is big enough that you can't get a kazayis for each one from one sheep. And that you learn out. Rashi says, here you see that's not ma'akeh. Because but there's 2 mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to bring a korban and also to eat the korban. But to bring the korban, if you didn't eat, you didn't eat. But if you brought a korban which is not possible to eat from it, so he learns that's not ma'akev.
Surely it's the mitzvah.
Yeah, we're not saying it's not a mitzvah. We're talking about if you can't. If someone didn't need it, there's a yosef the korban. So bringing the korban, so you see it to yosef because it's possible for all Am Yisrael to bring just one korban. That means that weren't possible to eat it. So you see that achilas psacham lo makva. Anyway, that was Rabbi Yonasson's Russia. Everybody shechs. All Am Yisrael could eat yosef with one pesach. Is another way of saying that it's not necessary dafka to eat it. Of course, a mitzvah to eat it. But the yosef the mitzvah of Akrov was korban pesach, even though he didn't eat it. So the more is asking, so how do you know shliach b'kachim and Allah? According to this drasha, that you use the pasuk for something else. You use the pasuk to tell you that you don't have to eat it. If you steal the korban, even if you didn't eat it, how do you know that you make a shliach for the shechita? The Gemara answers, minei, from the same pasuk means it's true. You see a big chiddush. You see that Olam Yisrael can have one korban that you didn't eat it, and you still yosef the mitzvah akrova. But the mice you see that one person shechs it for everybody. You don't have everybody shechting, one person is shechting it. So you see that you can have a shliach. So the Gemara says, minei, you can learn it from there also. But that's what the Gemara is not. They want to do that also, but the Gemara is leading up to if the Shochin himself is one of the people that's being Yosef the korban, the Gemara doesn't see that as such a big chiddush. Again, we're talking about that you can make a shliach for the shechita of the korban Pesach. So the Gemara says it's true. You do see in this pasuk that you can make a shliach, but maybe that's not such a big chiddush because he's one of the people who's being Yosef. It's not such a big chiddush that he should be able to be a shliach to the shech the korban if he's one of the members also. But we want to find a shliach that he's not part of the korban. You're making him a shliach. To be a shliach when he's involved in the mitzvah also, so that's not such a big chiddush. Show me a case where you can make a shliach and you're not in the mitzvah. So that's the most kasha. Maybe over there he's a partner in it also. That's why he could be a shliach. But if he wouldn't be a partner in the korban, maybe he can't be a shliach. So we have to come on to another pasuk. that each person should take a sheep for his family. So you see, what the one person takes it for the family. That means that he's a shliach, because now each person takes the korban pesach. One person is going to take the korban for all of them, shecht it and take it. So you see that you can make a shliach. But the Gemara still kash over again. Maybe because he's part of the family. The Gemara is saying, I'm asking you to have a shliach when you're part of the group that's going to make the korban pesach. But how do you know that you can make a shliach, be a shliach, even someone who's not part of the korban? So the more answer is because you have two psukim. You're right. Each pasuk alone wouldn't tell us. If you have the pasuk of Shachtu Asar Kol Kala Das Yisrael, or the pasuk of Yikolem Yishal Beis Avos, you would say that because you're part of the korban, you're part of the chavura. That's why you can be the shochet. But you don't have to have two psukim. You can't trade quite lamali. What do you have to have two psukim for? It must be since you have two psukim, it's come to tell you a chiddush, even if you're not part of the korban. It means in your lecha the shayich. If you don't need it for a case where you're part of the korban, because you have a pasuk already, so the second pasuk is coming to tell you, even if you're not part of the korban. So we figured out you can make a shliach by Citrin and Kiddushin and by Kiddushin. And how do you know Kiddushin? We had a machlokas. Some said if they work from the pasuk alone of Shachatu Asar Kol Kala Das Yisrael Bein Arbaim. And some said you have to have two psukim in order to learn that, because one pasuk alone would have only taught you when you're part of the chabura. But if you're not part of the chabura and you're outside, could you be the shochet? So you have to have two psukim in order to teach you that. There are some problems with this pasuk. This pasuk is used up already. This pasuk, according to the second Mandiyamar of Yonasan, you have to have this pasuk also to teach you shlichus. The pasuk is used up already. I made a parenthesis like a side issue. This pasuk is already used up. The pasuk says, "Yikulam ish," that a man should take it. That means it has to be a gadol, it has to be ready by mitzvah. But someone who's a katan can't take it for everybody else. So the pasuk is used up already. That only a ish, only an adult is able to make a schiyah for the korban for everybody else. The lo katan zocha. So the pasuk is used up already. The Gemara answers, "Ahu meish lefi aflo nafka." That's for the word ish. The word ish is taka for that. But the rest of the pasuk still can teach you that one person is taken for everybody. You see the din of shlichus. One more kasha. The Gemara learns out from this pasuk that you could be alone on the korban pesach. Before we had the opposite extreme, that the whole Am Yisrael could be part of one korban. Now it's the other extreme. But if you want to be a korban pesach all by yourself, you're not going to be able to eat the whole. I don't think you'll be able to eat the whole korban, the whole sheep. Maybe a small one. I don't know. But here it says a drasha that even one man can take a korban pesach. It's a drash, not a pashup shot. That one man can take a sheep and he can make the korban pesach all by himself. So if that's true, so the pasuk is used up already. That's the more second kasha. You're not to do korban pesach on one person alone. The answer is he also can't. He doesn't know this drasha. So the pasuk is extra. So there's a machlokes if you can make korban pesach for you alone. Of course, you shouldn't do it because you're going to be nosa. You'll have leftover meat. You shouldn't make a korban in a way that there's going to be for sure leftover meat. That's going to become nosa. But is it a kosher korban? So machlokes, some say yes, some say not. The one that says yes is from this pasuk. Ish, that one person takes it by himself. They call him ish. And the other one, and according to him, you wouldn't have extra pasuk to learn shlichus. But according to the Madam, it says that one person could not do a korban pesach by himself. So then the pasuk is extra to teach us that you could be a shliach even if you're not part of that chabur. So we finished so far. We know shlichus. We know shlichus by Citrin and Kiddushin. We know it by Kiddushin, and of course Truma is locked in between. So it's surely could bring and make a shliach for that also. And now we find the other psukim for shlichus. And what do we need so many psukim for? That's the pasuk in Sefer Bamidbar. Here it says the pasuk. It's talking about dividing the nachla. Where am I? The wrong place. I guess on the other side. Yeah, here's the pasuk. This is talking about maybe which parsha is that? Bamidbar Lamed Daled Matos Maseh Bamidbar Lamed Daled. That's Maseh. So it talks about that to divide Eretz Yisrael. So Hashem told Moshe to take a representative from each Shevet, and they should be the overseers of the Chalukas Nachla. And they divided the Nachla. So it says Nasi echad, what's the pasuk again? Nasi echad mimotet tikul, and take one nasi from each shevet to be the representative of that shevet when they divide Eretz Israel. So the Gemara sees over there that the shlichus, because he's doing it, the shlichus of everybody else. How could he be a representative? It must be that it's a shlichus, and that's why Gidlam Rav says, because it says one nasi per shevet. So you see that it can be a shliach, and the representative was a shliach for his people of his shevet. So typically, shlichus me'acha. If that's a pasuk, so you see shlichus. Why have to have all these other pasukim for? The answer is with his bra. Is this a case of shlichus? The people of his shevet made him to be the shliach, the representative to be the shliach. They were also ktanim amongst the people who went out of Mitzrayim and got a chelik in the nachla, and they were ktanim, so they can make a shliach. If the whole way that the representative worked is only because he was made a shliach, so that's only for the adults can make a shliach, but the ktanim can't make a shliach. So how was he able to be their representative? But not like, so we're going to say no, this is a mistake. Before Gidlam Rav said that you learn now shluch shalot mikemosef from this pasuk of the representatives of the nachla, they can't be because it wasn't shlichus b'chalal, they were ktanim. It's really Rav bar Rav Huna in the name of Rav Gidl Amar Rav. Rav bar Rav Huna Rav Gidl Amar Rav. That before also was of Gidl Amar Rav. Now it seems to be maybe quoting him differently. It says Menayin shezach and Ladam Shlo B'fanav Shenamar Nasi Yachad. That this pasuk is not coming to teach you shlichus. It's coming to teach you zechiyah. That representative that was the head of the shevet that made the nachla, he divided it for his shevet. He was zoch of everybody. So it was not shlichus. Shlichus you couldn't do for a katan, but zechiyah you could do. And so it's not a kash anymore. Shlichus you have to have obstacle. This pasuk is telling you something else. It's not telling you shlichus. It's telling you zechiyah that they could make a kinyan for them, not just to be a shliach. But the Tizbra, the Gemara is asking, is this a case of zchus? Zchusi, is that considered a zchus? We know that only gizachon l'adam shlo b'fanav. You can't do chavin. You can't do something detrimental for somebody. But this is a chovanami, because sometimes this is going to be considered chova. Someone's going to get his nachla. They're going to say, I don't want this. Which would you rather? A mountainous area or a straight area, flatlands, which you like better? Some people like mountains, some people like flatlands. So when the Nasi represented the Shevet and he took whatever he took, maybe he took a mountainous area, and then the Shevet is not going to be happy. So why is it considered a schus? Maybe it's considered a chova. So there's even a bigger chiddush. Not only schia. Here's a chiddush that sometimes Bezdin makes somebody to be a guardian, not a tropist, and it's not just going to be for schus. It's going to be for chova. And the Gemara is like, here says, so far the words say that the Yisomim, that they want to divide their father's estate, and they're aktanim over there. Bezdin makes an apotropos, and he's going to make the division amongst the Yisomim, both for detriment and also for benefit. And the Marsakasha lachuva mai. How come the Bezdin makes them to be representative to do bad for the Yisomim? That doesn't make sense. Ella amai. Why should they make us lachov? Ella lachuva manas liskos. That they. So the purpose is really liskos. Rashi explains that Bezdin makes. There's some the way the Mefarshim over here say. But you have a case somebody died, and the children have to divide the Yerusha, and there are some adults and there are some minors, and they want to divide it. So Bezdin makes apotropos for the minors, and of course they do what they think is good for the minors. They do liskos. They're not doing it for their detriment. They're doing what they think is good. But Lamaisa, it might come out a bad thing. It might come out of detriment also. So lachuva manas liskos that you could do. That Bezdin does it for a good intention, and he tries to do his best. But if it comes out that they're not happy with what he did, it still might have effect anyway. Or if he has to go to court and whatever to represent them, so he tries to do the best, but it might be that his representation is not going to be good. So that you take one nasi to represent the people of the shevet when they're dividing the nachla, and they might not be happy, but he'll try to do a good job. So since it's called liskos, even though it might be a chalachav at the end, he does it. They make a representative like that. Well, just to recap the whole Gemara, it's going to go further on a tangent now once we speak about dividing an achla. But the subject was about shlichus. That's our parak. Our parak says that the man can make a shliach to Mimakadosh, the woman can make a shliach. We look for the sources. We found the case by Gittin and also Kiddushin and also Kachim and Truma, you don't need a pasuk for at the end of the story. And then the Gemara Kasha today that you have another pasuk that the Chor teaches of shlichus also. This pasuk of Nasiach Mimot that teaches of shlichus. You don't need so many pasukim. And the Gemara answers, you're right. It's not telling you shlichus because on the contrary, you can't be shlichus because there are some ketanim over there, and the ketanim can't make a shliach. So the Gemara says, "Come to tell you something else. Come to tell you Zachal Mishlo B'Fanav, and even more than that, not only a schus, even if at the end is going to be a chova, since they intended to do schus, so they could be they do the schia and they become a representative, even though they might make a chova at the end." So that answers the kasha. You don't need a pasuk for shlichus that we talk about already. Once the Gemara mentioned this, it goes into the subject about dividing as representation with a apotropos, even though he might make a mistake. So that's going to be a side subject now. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Yisomim Shabol Lachla V'Nechsi Aviyam Bez Mamid Lam Apotropos. So the Gemara puts in the Aleph Beis. He puts in that. Yisomim. So the Gemara says that the Yisomim means there are some adults and some children, and amongst the Yisomim, and the adults want to divide, so the Bezdin is going to make apotropos for the Ketanim. If they're all adults, so they should make their own division. And if they're all Ketanim, I'm not sure. Maybe also you just wait. I'm not sure, but you maybe take care of it collectively. But here it says that the Gedolim do want to divide. That's what the Gemara puts into these Aleph and Beis, that the Gedolim do want to divide, and they are Ketanim over there. So Bezdin makes the apotropos uborim lahem chelik yafa, and the apotropos picks for select. He becomes part of the Yorshim, and he picks for the katan that he's representing what he thinks is good. And then the kids grow up and they're not happy what the apotropos did for them. So it's a machlokes between Shmuel and Rav Nachman. First, Rav Nachman called Shmuel that he holds that once if they grow up, they could protest and say we're not happy what the apotropos did, and they could do it again, redivide with their brothers. And Rav Nachman himself says that they cannot. It sounds a little bit like the Gemara before. The Gemara before sounded in the name of Rav that if they became representatives for the purpose of doing good, even if they're not happy about it, that's it. They did it already. That sounds a little bit like Rav Nachman that once they represent these Shoppers did make a decision and they were successful in their division. So then even if the kids grow up, they can't change anymore. I'm not sure. That's how it sounds a little bit that Rav before goes like Rav Nachman. According to Shmuel, they can change it also. They can change it later on. Rav Nachman says, once the kids grow up, they cannot undo what the apotropos had divided for them. Because if so, that children, when they grow up, they can change what the Bezdin did. So then the Bezdin doesn't have any strength. Whatever they did, the kids can undo. Rav Nachman wants to say the Bezdin has extra strength, and even if the kids, when they grow up, they don't like it, they're stuck because Bezdin made an apotropos. The Gemara goes into a side subject about this thing about Ma'koch Bezdin Yafa. Here, Rav Nachman said that you have to give Bezdin strength, and the kids are not able to change it once they grow up. The Gemara has a side issue on that. First white line. Rav Nachman became Ma'koch Bezdin Yafa. Does Rav Nachman hold that's for that Bezdin has to have a strength that they shouldn't be able to undo it? But not. We had a similar subject. We talked about Bezdin making a decision, and could you undo it or not? And over there, Rav Nachman's going to say that you can undo it. That's going to be a contradiction. It says, Shuma Dayanim, Shepichsu Shtus, or Siu Shtus. Shum means evaluation, to assess, like Shuma. So Dayanim made an assessment, but they made a mistake. They assessed somebody's field. They wanted to, foreclose on it. They wanted to take it. So they had to assess how much it's worth, but they made a mistake, big mistake. They said that it's a sixth less of the real value, or a sixth more. So Tanakh says, so it's like anybody else. They made a mistake in assessment, so it doesn't count. He says it does stay, even though they made a mistake. A regular person makes a mistake, it's not a good assessment. But if Bezdin made a mistake, it stays. Because in Game Ma'koch Bezdin Yafa, because Rav Shimon Gamliel holds that you have to give Bezdin extra strength, and even if they made a mistake, it's valid. And Rav Huna, Rav Nachman, there's Rav Nachman again, he says, so he holds like the Chachamim, Tanakama, Rechon Batel, he does not give Bezdin strength. So now it's a contradiction in Rav Nachman. Here Rav Nachman said that when the apotropos represented the kids and he made a division, so when they grow up, they cannot protest because you have to give Bezdin strength. That sounds like Rav Shimon Gamliel over here. But Rav Nachman himself passing like the Chachamim, that if they made a mistake in the assessment, it's disqualified. So you see, if Nachman does not hold Makoch Bezdin Yafa, so it's a contradiction in Rav Nachman. Lo Kasha. And the answer is pretty simple, I think. I'm not sure why it was that had the toe, had the low toe. They made a mistake. If Nachman just says the Machlokes of Shimon and Chachamim is they made a mistake in the assessment. Over there, if Nachman says like the Chachamim, halach the Chachamim, that if they made a mistake, it doesn't count. Okay, but if they did not make a mistake, they made they made a division for the Yisomim, and then the Yisomim want to change it, then you can't change it because they didn't make any mistake. So if there was no mistake in the division, so what are the kids complaining about? Which direction? Which side? Means their division was financially a good division. Each one was worth $100,000, but they want, besides $100,000, they want this one. They don't want to get the one on the north. They want the one on the south. So that's what Nachman says over there. You say, Ma'akov Bezdin Yafa, they didn't make any mistake. Just because you don't like what they did, you can't undo it. But if they made a mistake, they pass like the Chachamim, that it's also disqualifying. The Gemara continues a little bit more about this, about a lot more, about 20, 25, 30 lines, about this issue about dividing. If the Shabbos divides the field, that was what I spoke about. And now goes a side subject. We're also going to have about Shumah with a mistake. So it brings in the next halacha of Rav Nachman. So we're on the third line of the Amud Beis. Is that true? Amud Beis already? Amud Beis? Yeah. So the third line. Amar Rav Nachman, ha'achin shechalku, ha'rein kilakuchos. Brothers that divided the Yerusha, they have a din as if they bought from each other. It means each one has a right to the whole thing. And if they divide it, so it's as if each one's selling out half. And they're considered buyers from each other. What does it have? Which it's as far as which halachas? Pachas mishtus nikdem mekach. Yesir shtus batal mekach. Shtus kana machzirono. The same halacha as bara oh no. No means overpricing, underpricing. So if they made a division and the assessment was wrong, so if it was less than a sixth of a mistake, so then it's valid. Like any kind of time you buy something, even if you were underpriced, overpriced, so less than a sixth is butter. Like it's not butter. Less than a sixth is like pitur, that people are mochel, and it's a good division.
Up till six.
What?
Up till six. Up till six.
Here it says there's three categories: pachas mishtus, shtus, and yosem mishtus. Pachas mishtus, it's good. If it's less than a six, leave the way it is. Yes, shtus batal mekach. If it's more than a six, then the whole thing is nothing. As if they didn't do anything. They made an assessment that's more than a six off. How about exactly a six? Shtus. So then the deal's not off, but you have to give the difference. You have to pay back the difference of how much the assessment was wrong. So Nachman's Chiddush was that Achan Shecholka have the same thing, just like regular Masomat and regular buyers and sellers. This is the halacha. Pachas mishtus, you leave it the way it is. Yosem mishtus, the whole thing is off. And shtus, the deal is on, but you have to give back the change. You have to give back the difference. So the same thing applies to brothers that divided. They also consider that they bought from each other. And Gemara says some agbalot. What is the agbalot in English?
Limitations.
Limitations. Thank you. Now I was going to say some limitations. I'm a Rava. Make a little that over here. I'm a Rava. When do we say that less than a shtus, less than a sixth, the brothers divided? I don't know if the has only to do with Achashachok. It could be any kind of a masomat, any kind of a sale. Less than a shtus, we say that keep it the way it is. Leave it. Everything's good. A person is mubata less than a shtus. That's only if he did it himself. He didn't make a shliach. But if he made a shliach, he made a shliach to make the division, or made a shliach to buy something. So then Ashabi shliach Amar that kunishadatif Allah husi. That has nothing to do with the din of. Oh no! Here he says, "I made you a shliach. I didn't make you a shliach to do bad to me. I made you a shliach to do good for me. So you didn't do good. Even less than a shliach is not considered good."
Why do you say shliach is like him? The same person.
Because he only made a shliach.
Mistakes. So
No, but he only made him a shliach. He only appointed him a shliach if you're going to do good. If you don't do good, I'm not making you a shliach for that. There's what's the word? You could not with the regular din of no. You're not even my shliach. I'm only making you a shliach to do good. If you don't do good, good means what good businessmen would do. And if you don't do a good job, so you're not my shliach. If it's true, if I would have done it, so then there's a din of no less than the shtus is mechila. But I'm not making you a shliach for that. I'm making you a shliach according to my terms. That I want you to be a good shliach. So even less than a shtus, also he could be retracted. Yes, Chaim David.
No, that's what I want to know.
Okay.
You answered it right.
And other more yes, just bottle mekach. We said the other extreme was that if they made a big mistake, so then the deal is off. So Rabbi says also there's a limitation on that. Only if they didn't say specifically, I want this assessment to be as good as Bezdin does it. But if said I want this to be kind of an assessment that Bezdin does, then even if they made a mistake more than it's just, it still is valid. And we had Machlokes a second ago on number Aleph, instead of Machlokes, Tanakam Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Titnan, Shimon Dayan, and Peshach she was this. If the Bezdin themselves made a mistake in assessing a field less than a sixth, or even or more than a sixth. Oh, I'm sorry. If Peshach just means any kind of a mistake, probably too little, too more, too much. Mechron Batel. Tanakama says that like anybody else, and sale is not good. So this Gemara is going according to Rav Shimon Gamliel. Just to point out, Rashi tells us the one of an said of Nachman Paskin like the Chachamim, Mechon Batel, and he didn't hold that Bezdin special when they make a mistake. When they make a mistake, you don't say Makor Bezdin Yafa. But it happens to be that Rabbi doesn't hold like that. Rabbi holds like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that even if they made a mistake, also you say Makor Bezdin Yafa Mechon Kayim. So Rabbi is saying that if they said
you do allow the Bezdin to make mistakes, and you
you're right. Not that we allow that, but it's valid. It's valid.
Not more than Ishtos.
Even more than Ishtos.
For Bezdin,
That's what it says here. Yes, a Ishtos bottle Mekach, but if Bezdin did it, then Mechon Kayam, even more than Ishtos. In the words of on Pixel Shtos, so Sivishtos, I wouldn't have seen it, but here the Gemara seems to say Sivishtos means even more than Ishtos. So Bezdin also, according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, Mechon Kayam, and Rabbi Paskin like that, that's not Rabbanan. So he said even the regular people, they made a deal, but they said, I want this assessment to be as if Bezdin would have made it. That means that whatever the assessment is going to be, it counts, like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So he made a stipulation in the deal. He said, let's make an assessment. We're going to ask regular assessors, but we're going to give it a din as if Bezdin did it. And if Ben does it, then it's Mechon Kayim, even if it made a big mistake. So too, if they said so, the deal is going to be on, even if they made a big mistake.
I mean, can you change the status of the people involved, like from the professionals to the Bezdin?
He didn't say that it was going to be a best, and he said I wanted it to be a din as if it was best, as if it was best.
You're giving them the credence, whatever they choose, he's going to give them.
If they make such a kind of a assessment, it's going to be valid, even if they made a big mistake. And the third limitation that Rabbi says, that we said that shtus, if it was exactly a sixth off, so then the deal is on, but they have to give back the change. That's only if it was metaltalin. But karka ain't another kakos. Karka doesn't have an exact assessment. Ain't another kakos, even if on the market there's a certain price, but karka is considered valueless. Invaluable. That's the way to say it. Thank you. If there's an invaluable, and therefore there's no one. So if there's no why it talks about only by ishtus, or even by more than ishtus also. I'm getting mixed up with the words. This should apply also to even more than ishtus that ain't another kakos. And the Gemara is going to be valid even if it was a big mistake. And karka, there's no karkos.
There's no what?
There's no overpricing by karka, even if it's more than a shtus. Here it says a shtus, the even more than a shtus. These two Gemaras, I'm a little bit confused. It should have said by the last one, it should have said more than a shtus, and this one it should have said a shtus, because it says shtus by Bezdin making a mistake. Maybe the Gersa have to check the Gersa. And then the Gemara finishes off. When do we say that in another kakos? That's the one we talk about the value. But the value of they assessed how much this value is, and they made a mistake. Then you talk about that karka ain't another kakos. But if he said he wants a certain amount, he wants a whatever, 25 meters, an acre, whatever it might have said. So then you don't say ain't another kakos. Mida, like it says, Dama Rava, called Dava Sheva Mida Shem Mishkal Sheva Minyan Afilu Kochos Mikdei No Nami Choseh. If they talked about a number, it says here a measurement, a weight, or a number. So then even less than Kedei No also is Choseh, because he says he wants a certain amount of, he wants 20 eggs, and he gave him only 19. So you don't say less than this. You don't say less than this. Over there, I said that a certain number. Of course, there's a no on anything, even less than this. So that also applies to karka. Also, if he asked for a certain amount of karka, and then it comes out that it wasn't that amount, they divided it, and it wasn't equal amounts. So then there's a no even by karka. We say there's no a no by karka when you talk about the value, but when you talk about the measurement, how much karka there was, then there's a no even by karka, even less than this. So all that came in agav. All this was mamish. We went on a big tangents over here. We're really holding by shlichos, and we looked for the we looked for the source of by Citrin and Kiddushin, by Kachim. We found another one for Kachim. Once we came into Kachim, how do we get onto the tangent over here? We talked about Kachim. We had extra pasuk. We had too many pasukim. Nasi yachad mibater. What you have to have two pasukim for? And then the Gemara said to tell you that Bezin makes up a trumpet even for the good, and even if the bad, it's going to come out. It's still a good deal. We went into Rav Nachman Shmuel and Rav Nachman himself that argued about this point, that some hold that it's valid, some say that it's not. Sometimes we don't say Koch Bezin Yafa. And then the Gemara went in finally into this first Gemara about brothers dividing, that also if it's shtus, more than shtus, less than shtus, and when do we say that? And he says sometimes that Shum of the Beidina, like I said before, that Bezdin's Shum is machlokes of Shum and Gamliel and Rabbanan. So here the Gemara does pass like of Shum and Gamliel, even if it's a big mistake. And now we go back to Shlichus again. So that was a big tangent, and now we're going back to Allah of Shlichus. The Gemara starts. Somebody sent a fire with the Chereshot
that one we just did, it was
tangent.
What was it?
It was about making mistakes. Now we're going back to Shlichus again. The main subject of the parak is Shlichus. We went on tangents about, we brought a pasuk, Nasi Yachad Mimateh. That was to tell you that you can make enough troubles for children even though they make a mistake. And then there's machlokes about Bezdin making a mistake, and here we pass like. So all that came into the subject, and about less than a shus, more than a shus. All that was a side subject. And now we go back to the main subject, back on track again about Shlichus. There's a mission that says that if somebody sent a be'ira, I think it's a fire, right? He sent a fire with a chereshot of a katan, and he made a lot of damage. So the adult who sent the fire, so in Bezdin can't force him to pay, but in heaven really is chayiv to pay. It's called the groma, that he caused it to happen by giving it to a katan. The katan's not chayiv to pay. The adult didn't do it himself. It's indirect, but it's all called the groma. So Bezdin can't force him to pay, but really he is chayiv to pay. That's not our subject. Our subject is shilach b'yad pikeach. He gave it to a smart man, to an adult. He gave it to an adult who's not a shota, not a katan, not a cheresh, and the second one made a fire. So who has to pay for it? It says pikeach chayiv. It says that one who did it has to pay, and not the one who sent him. And the kashi is amai, name is shluch shlavim kamosa. Once we established that such thing as a shliach, we said it many sources already. We said by Citrin and Kiddushin, we said it by Kachim. So once we say by all over, we're going to say shluch shlavim kamosa. So now the kashi is, how come if someone told someone it's made a shliach, he told him to make a fire. So here it says that the one who did it is chayiv. How come it doesn't say I just was following orders and go to the one who sent me? The answer is famous concept. Even though there's a shliach we had by Citrin, Kiddushin, Kachim, everything but by Avera, you don't say the shlichus, and therefore the one who did it is responsible, and the Mishalech is not chayiv. And he even can say, I didn't expect you to do it. You're listening to me. Hashem told you not to do it. If the Rebbe says something and the Talmud says something, who do you listen to? Listen to the Rebbe. So if Hashem told you not to make a damage, and I told you to make a damage, listen to me. You don't listen to me. So therefore, the Mishalech is potter and the Shliach himself is fine. That's good. No good? There's such thing called Shliach.
Yes.
So the question was, if he told the Shliach to damage somebody, so he should be, so the Mishalech should be high. He's my Shliach.
Yeah.
The answer is no, ain't Shliach because the Shliach was not expected to. He wasn't expected to listen to the and he's not allowed to listen to him. So he's not considered a shliach, and he's on his own, and the shliach is chayiv, and the mishlech is potter. From Kasha, from some place where you do see shliach with v'avera, but Italiya, or they say it's a mishnah. Shliach shlosa shlichusa, shliach no. Somebody sent a shliach to use hektish money. He gave him hektish money, told him to buy something, And he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Rashi gives an example. He told him to buy a coat and he bought a shirt, whatever the case would have been. He didn't do what he was told to do. He told him to buy an esrog, he bought a lemon. He didn't do what he was told to do. So shliach mol. Then he wasn't a shliach because the shliach never sent him to do that. So shliach mol, he's on his own. He didn't do what he's supposed to do. But if he did do what he's supposed to do, the master, they're not the master. The shliach gave him money. That was hektish money, and he told him to buy a coat, and he bought a coat. So then the shliach is not mal, the balabais is mal. And this means that the shliach is even though the he didn't have vera. He didn't have vera by using hektish money, and he spent it for what the mashaliach told him. And here it says that the mashaliach is responsible. That means he do say shliach l'dvar vera. Kiyasa shlichus the balabais miyamol. It says here that if he did what the balabais wanted, the balabais is the one who's chayiv. Amai name shliach l'dvar vera. Once you establish that you don't say shliach l'dvar vera, this is an avera over here. So how come the Mishalech is chayiv? You should have said that the shliach is the one who's chayiv. The answer is shani meila the alpha chet b'truma. This is special drush over there. You're right. There's an exception to the rule. Usually ain't shliach l'dvar vera. I want to make some kind of color over here. That's the answer. That is a chet. The pasuk says the word chet by meila, and it says the word chet by truma. Make exer shava. Rashi tells us the psukim over here. It says and here it says it says the word chet. Here it is. Okay, it's not coming out so well, but you have the word chet by meila, and you have the word chet by truma. Chet. So since we know by truma there's such a thing as a shliach, so too by meila, even though it's an avera. So it comes out chiddush that meila there's a shliach with avera. Usually not. Usually you say divrei Rav, divrei Talmud, divrei Mishomen, but by meila there's an exception. There's a shliach with avera.
Meaning that
even though he told him to do an avera, he told him to take this hektish money and buy something, and he listened to him. So it's an avera, and it should have been the shliach's trouble and not the bashaleach. It's a xeris akosiv that he do say shliach with avera, and the mishleach is going to be chayiv. So if that's true, so you find the case where the Torah says yechayiv for shliach with avera, so then saying the whole Torah is shliach with avera. The answer is mishum that milo shliach yad shnei ksuv b'am kechad. That there are two places where the Torah says they shliach with avera. One is our case of Mila, another case of Shliach Hasad, when you use the Pikoda. Someone gave you something to watch, and you're not allowed to use like Shliach Yad. And even if you made a Shliach, you told somebody else to use it also. Over there says that the Mishalech is called he was Shliach Yad. You don't say Shliach L'Var. So the Pasuk says two times, and we know the cloud, and I have to stop over here, even though it's the middle of a sentence over here. But it's going to tell you how do you know that by Shliach Hasad also you say Yesh Shliach L'Dvar Vera. So you didn't finish the page, but it's okay to stop over here. What did we learn today? We learned about Shlichus, and we had too many sources. First, we said we don't need the source of Truma. That was yesterday. We have Citrin and Kiddushin and Kiddushin, and Truma you don't need the pasuk for, because it's no reason why it should be different than the things that are above it, things that are below it, and therefore those are the sources for Truma. For Shliach, the Marikasha that some have to have another pasuk because he uses the pasuk of Shechtu V'Sokol Kal Das Yisrael Ben Arba'im. He needs another pasuk. V'Lachu, how does it go over there? Celebes Avos Shalaboyis. V'Lachu, how does it go? So you have to have another pasuk. That was all the Rosh. How you know Shlichus? The Marikasha that there's another pasuk Nasiachad Mimatet, which is quoted as saying also another pasuk for Shlichus. You don't need somebody psukim. The answer was that's to tell you Zechia and not Meshchia. Even Zachin and Manas Lochav, that if at the end the deal is not going to be a good deal for them, still it takes effect. That was really a machlokas between Shmuel and Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says so. Shmuel held not that they could be mocha, but here Rav Nachman seems to hold that they cannot be mocha. But he says Dafka when it was not a mistake. But if it was a mistake, like the case of making a bad assessment, is machlokas about Rav Shimon and Gamliel under Rabbanan. Over there, Rav Nachman paskin like Rabbanan that their assessment is not good for a mistake. So that answers the contradiction in Rav Nachman himself. But it happens to be that Rav passes like Rav Shimon and Gamliel, even if they made a mistake, also the assessment is still good. The Gemara went into that talking about brothers that are Yerusha that consider that they bought from each other, and there's less than a sixth, more than a sixth, all the regular lachas of the Kuchos. It said there are some limitations over there. If they made a shliach, so then he didn't make him a shliach to do bad for him. Even less than a 6 is not going to be a shliach. If it was, they said when it should be a shliach shuma like Bezdin, then it's going to be a shuma. Even then, it's going to be valid even if it was more than a 6. And if it was karka, so then also there's no lakakos. But the Gemara does say that if they made a mistake by the karka in the measurement, then there's no even by karka, even less than a shtus, because that's an exact thing. It's nothing to do with the value of karka. It has to do with the measurement, and by measurement there is no. Then the Gemara the kasha that you find sometimes that you don't say shlichus, like by damaging. The answer is shlichus l'avera, because it's svara. There you have the Rimi. But you do find 2 exceptions. One is mila, and one is by shlichus yad. Over there you do say shlichus l'avera. Torah says it specifically, and therefore and only applies over there. Doesn't apply to other places. And that's so far the maskana that in general you do say shlichus, but in shlichus l'avera, but 2 exceptions, mila and shlichus yad. Over there, there's even a shlichus l'avera.
It's probably hard for you to clear the shirt today with
Yeah.